Hook. The silent indictment. You've spent years mistaking motion for meaning. Every scroll, every post, every word you throw into the void, proof that you still exist. But noise is not power. It is panic, performed as relevance. You've been taught that the louder you speak, the more you matter. You were lied to. The world is drowning in performers, each one shouting over the next, terrified of silence because silence exposes the hollow underneath. They chase echoes, not results. Applause, not respect. From substance to spectacle, from gravity to gesture. And in this endless noise, real authority disappears. You feel it when you speak and no one listens, when you fill space yet remain unseen. That exhaustion isn't weakness, it's recognition. You're waking up to the con. That visibility has replaced value. That attention has become a substitute for impact. But presence doesn't come from being noticed. It comes from being necessary. You don't need to outshout the world. You need to withdraw your voice until it weighs more than their noise. Every silence you hold becomes a mirror, forcing others to reveal themselves, to fill the gap you no longer chase. Not louder, stronger. Not reactive, decisive. The still mind rules the frantic one. There's a moment when the performer realizes he was never on stage. He was in a cage, dancing for validation he already owned. That's where you are now, standing at the edge of that cage, hearing the world's chaos echo behind you. To step out, you must let the silence hum louder than their applause. You are not here to entertain. You are here to command. But command begins with refusal, with restraint. The first act of power is to stop explaining yourself to those who haven't earned your words. When you stop defending your worth, they start feeling it. When you stop chasing their eyes, they start following your stillness. The noise economy collapses the moment you stop feeding it. That's the reset. A ruthless ethical withdrawal from the addiction of being seen. And from that quiet, a different kind of gravity emerges. Unspoken, undeniable, unreactive. The performer dies. The selector begins to breathe. The world won't understand it yet. They'll sense the shift before they can name it. And as the noise fades, the truth will start to take shape. Power doesn't announce itself. It's felt. The silence is coming, and with it, the reframe. Thesis. Power reframed, presence over performance. Silence has already begun its work on you. The noise you once depended on now sounds foreign, childish, beneath your new awareness. What once felt like energy now reads as leakage. You start to sense that real power isn't what you project, but what you withhold. You were taught that confidence is a feeling, a surge, a mood, a wave to ride. But feelings flicker, identity endures. Confidence isn't what you feel. It's what you decide to be when the feeling is gone. Not hype, calibration, not excitement, alignment. Presence is architecture, not theater. It's built in your posture, your breath, your pauses, the exact angle of your attention. Every detail silently instructs others how to treat you. You don't need to announce authority. Your nervous system already broadcasts it. The body obeys the mind that no longer seeks permission. You've confused attention with impact because you've been rewarded for reaction. They told you influence meant being seen, but visibility without gravity is exposure without control. From spectacle to stillness. From noise to nucleus. The more centered you become, the more the world orbits around your composure. Power is not domination, it's direction. You decide where the energy flows. You no longer chase, you select. You no longer impress, you imply. Authority lives in absence, not excess. You don't raise your voice, you raise your standard. Confidence is not feeling ready, it's the calm acceptance that readiness is irrelevant. You act not because you're certain, but because hesitation no longer earns you anything. The decider moves, the performer waits for applause. One commands outcomes, the other decorates insecurity. You will begin to notice this in micro moments. The conversation where you resist explaining yourself, the negotiation where you let silence do the heavy lifting, the disagreement where you keep your tone level while others unravel. Each moment of non-reaction cements your internal throne. Remember this aphorism: power unadvertised is power preserved. Every time you prove yourself, you lose a fragment of authority. Every time you stay composed under misunderstanding, you gain invisible leverage. The game is not to be understood, it's to be undeniable. Presence bends behavior. When you stop performing, others instinctively recalibrate. They speak slower, stand straighter, listen longer. They obey without knowing why, because your stillness exposes their noise. You've become the mirror in which their chaos is reflected. This is the transformation that begins beneath language, the shift from identity as performance to identity as presence. The performer asks, "Do they see me?" The selector asks, "Do I align with what I've chosen?" One depends on attention, the other dictates direction. You are no longer here to feel powerful. You are here to be power. When the internal structure is aligned, the external response becomes automatic. Confidence as emotion dies. Confidence as architecture remains. And from this architecture, the new laws of dominance will rise. Origin of weakness, how you learn to perform. You weren't born a performer, you were made into one. Somewhere between being seen and being safe, you learned that approval was oxygen. You watched the world reward noise, reward compliance, reward the ones who filled space fastest. So you adapted. You became fluent in performance, measuring your worth by the response it generated. They told you to speak up, to smile, to share, to never let the silence stretch too long. But silence is where power grows, and they taught you to fear it. From stillness to scrambling, from composure to compensation, you were programmed to perform survival, not sovereignty. Think back to how early it started. A classroom where obedience earned gold stars. A home where being quiet meant being ignored. You learned that to exist, you must be noticed. That to belong, you must bend. Each reaction became a transaction. Approval traded for authenticity. The performer was born in that trade. He became skilled, adaptive, likable. But every strength was inverted, a shield turned into a shackle. You became dependent on the applause that once protected you. It wasn't confidence, it was conditioning disguised as charisma, not power, performance, and the world encouraged it. Social media, workplaces, relationships, they all profit from your overexposure. The performer dances for validation algorithms he never designed. He's measured by engagement, not integrity, by volume, not weight, by reaction, not result. He doesn't lead, he pleases, he doesn't command, he contorts. But beneath that conditioning, something older still whispers, a faint, unbending instinct that remembers what it's like to move without needing witness. That's the seed of the selector. The performer reacts to survive. The selector decides to shape. The performer fills silence, the selector inhabits it. This is not about shame. It's about recognition. You can't command what you haven't named. The performer is the echo of your earliest bargains with safety, the voice that says, "If I keep them pleased, I'll stay protected." But protection built on performance is a prison with good acoustics. It echoes your worth back to you only when you shout. To reclaim yourself, you must withdraw from the marketplace of constant reaction. You must unlearn the reflex to explain, to fill, to prove. Because every unnecessary word is a receipt of submission. The performer seeks eyes. The selector demands silence. Understand this. The world doesn't owe you recognition. It responds to calibration. When you no longer chase the crowd's gaze, the crowd adjusts its gaze to you. Presence replaces performance. Authority replaces applause. This is the moment you stop rehearsing. The script that once kept you safe now keeps you small. Tear it quietly. Step out without announcement. The performer was necessary once, but the age of performance ends here. Next comes separation, the split between the noise-bound self and the one who commands from stillness. The identity divide where the throne becomes visible. Identity split, from pawn to gatekeeper. You can't transform until you divide. The performer must be separated from the commander, the chaser from the selector, the pawn from the gatekeeper. Until now, you've lived as one blended identity, part instinct, part insecurity, reacting to every pull, every look, every demand. You've mistaken access for connection and reaction for relevance. But access is not intimacy. Response is not respect. This is the fracture point, the moment when you recognize there are two of you. The first is the pawn, trained to move only when the world does, always advancing in predictable squares, sacrificing itself for someone else's position. The second is the gatekeeper, still, deliberate, unseen until necessary, not servant, ruler, not follower, decider. The pawn survives by exposure. The gatekeeper thrives by restraint. One seeks permission, the other defines parameters. The pawn wants to be liked. The gatekeeper only allows what strengthens his domain. You've lived most of your life as the first, open, available, responsive, believing access makes you valuable. But boundaries are the birthplace of reverence. When everything can reach you, nothing respects you. This isn't about arrogance, it's about architecture. The pawn gives energy indiscriminately, leaking focus into every conversation, every distraction, every approval loop. The gatekeeper builds walls, not to isolate, but to concentrate power. He decides what crosses the threshold, what enters his time, his mind, his presence. From availability to selectivity, from reaction to filtration. You must now begin that separation in action. Watch your words. The pawn over-explains. The gatekeeper underlines. The pawn answers every message. The gatekeeper answers only those that align. The pawn fills silence to prove worth. The gatekeeper uses silence to measure others. Every unspoken sentence is a statement. Every withheld reaction is a move on the board. This split will feel uncomfortable at first because you've built your safety around access. You feared being misread, so you overshared. You feared losing connection, so you overgave. But that comfort was dependence wearing empathy's mask. True power doesn't require endless transparency. It requires intentional opacity. The unknown is leverage. Understand the stakes. The world runs on the obedience of pawns and the selectivity of gatekeepers. One feeds the system, the other rewrites it. You've played their game long enough. Now you design the terrain. From seeking entry to deciding access. From chasing gates to becoming one. You will know you've crossed the threshold when you stop responding to everything that summons you. When you can feel the pull of urgency and remain unmoved. When silence no longer feels like loss, but like strategy. The moment you hold your energy long enough to make others adjust their pace, that's when the gatekeeper takes command. This isn't about closing yourself off, it's about refining what deserves proximity. The pawn asks, will they choose me? The gatekeeper asks, do they qualify for me? That single shift in question recodes your entire posture. Your tone lowers. Your pace slows. Your eyes stop scanning for approval and start assessing alignment. People can feel it. Something in you stops reaching outward and starts drawing inward. Every great architecture begins with exclusion. To build a kingdom, you must first define its walls. To embody command, you must regulate access to your energy. The performer dissolves. The selector solidifies. Not because he learned more, but because he decided less was allowed in. From here, every decision will orbit around this split. You are no longer at the mercy of attention. Attention is now at the mercy of you. That is the foundation of presence, the internal throne on which all further laws will rest. And from this foundation, the edicts will emerge. Laws that will govern how you move, speak, and withhold from this point forward. Behavioral code. Micro-practices of silent authority. Laws are structure. Behavior is proof. Power that isn't visible becomes theory, and theory without repetition dissolves. The gatekeeper doesn't act powerful. He trains power into muscle memory. Every movement, every pause, every word becomes an instrument of control, from abstract principle to practiced ritual, from belief to embodiment. Begin with your voice. The performer speaks to be heard. The selector speaks to be obeyed. Lower your pitch slightly, slow your tempo, reduce filler words. Speak in measured sentences that end cleanly, not with upward inflection. Never rush to fill silence after speaking. Let your words rest in the air until they land. The world responds to tone, not volume. A calm voice bends the emotional temperature of a room downward. Pauses are punctuation of power. The weak rush, the strong breathe. Before you answer a question, wait 2 seconds. Before you make a point, inhale fully and exhale through the first word. This micro delay forces others to synchronize with your pace. From reaction to regulation, your silence becomes the room's metronome. Your posture is your first declaration. The performer leans forward, seeks proximity, fidgets with agreement. The gatekeeper leans back, hands visible but still, shoulders low, jaw unclenched. Space amplifies status. Take up slightly more physical territory, but move less within it. When standing, anchor your weight evenly through both feet and imagine gravity pooling beneath you. People read stability before they hear confidence. Then, the eyes. Do not scan for feedback. Choose a focal point and hold it with relaxed steadiness. Eye contact is not intensity, it's endurance. 3 seconds longer than comfortable communicates composure beyond the ordinary. When listening, maintain still gaze. When speaking, let your eyes rest instead of darting for confirmation. From seeking reaction to issuing signal, the one who looks less leads more. Now practice the strategic no. The performer deflects, delays, explains. The gatekeeper declines with structure. Say no once, cleanly, then hold silence. If pressed, restate boundaries without justification. That doesn't work for me. Or, not aligned right now. Every added word dilutes weight. Each time you refuse softly but decisively, you sharpen the edge of your identity. Repetition forges respect. Withholding comment is a ritual of power. Not every thought requires exposure. Not every reaction deserves articulation. When you feel the urge to respond quickly, stop, breathe. Let the other person experience the vacuum of your silence. They will reveal themselves trying to fill it. You will learn more by restraint than expression. From impulse to investigation. Silence turns every interaction into data. Develop rituals of restraint throughout your day. Delay your first text in the morning by 10 minutes. Let phone notifications accumulate before responding. Walk into rooms without announcing yourself. These micro-denials train your nervous system to detach from urgency. Urgency is the leash of the pawn. Patience is the armor of the gatekeeper. Train presence through your body's stillness. If you feel tension, don't release it with movement. Release it with breath. Authority lives in containment. You are not suppressing energy, you are concentrating it. The room senses when someone is internally still. It's an instinctive hierarchy response. Humans follow those who move least under pressure. Speech discipline is next. Every statement should either instruct, clarify, or conclude. Never narrate emotions, describe decisions. Replace I think with I've decided. Replace maybe with no. Replace hopefully with when. These micro-linguistic edits shift your identity from commentator to commander. Finally, exit discipline. Leave rooms before energy decays. End conversations on your line, not theirs. When the outcome is clear, depart calmly and without summary. Mystery lengthens memory. The moment you over-explain your stance, you trade authority for comfort. Departures done right make people replay your silence long after you're gone. Every one of these drills is measurable. Time your pauses. Count the seconds between stimulus and response. Track how often you decline instead of explain. These are not gestures. They're recalibrations of the nervous system. The goal isn't to appear controlled, it's to become control. From this discipline of motionlessness, a new kind of field emerges. The world starts adjusting around your rhythm. You'll soon test it beyond yourself, in negotiations, in conversation, in intimacy. The next phase reveals where this behavior collides with the real world, and how silence, properly placed, governs every domain you enter. Field applications, where silence rules, work, social, dating. Authority untested is illusion. You've built calibration in the mirror. Now it must survive the field. Silent power is only proven in noise, where people perform, where urgency reigns, where validation hunts for hosts. Every arena has its own bait. You'll learn to walk through each without taking it. These are not hypotheticals. They're operational playbooks. Work, the negotiation table. Old script, talk first, justify worth, over-explain value. New code, anchor with silence, reveal less. Let them fill the space. When the offer lands, don't respond immediately. Nod once. Look at the paper or screen. Breathe. Let the stillness stretch, 5 seconds, minimum. You are teaching them you don't rush to react. That pause forces the other side to reinterpret their leverage. Move 1, the weight of delay. After hearing a proposal, I'll need a moment to consider how that aligns. Then go quiet. No nervous laughter, no verbal filler. Just the quiet gravity of decision. Silence turns your pause into a mirror. They'll start negotiating with themselves. Move 2. Controlled disclosure. When asked for justification, answer only with outcomes. The last time I handled a project of that scale, it delivered a 30% increase in performance. That's the range I operate in. Then stop talking. Don't justify, don't elaborate. Leave silence behind the statement. The pause frames it as fact, not request. Failure mode. Explaining after your no. Each added word is a discount. Reversal. Replace reassurance with containment. Authority is measured by how little you need to clarify. 2. Social hierarchy. The group dynamic. Every group has noise merchants, the ones who talk to prove they belong. The performer fights for attention. The gatekeeper curates it. Presence, not performance, shifts gravity in rooms. Step 1. Occupy space. Slowly. When entering a gathering, don't announce yourself. Move deliberately. Pause before speaking. Scan the room once, then take position. Let others register your stillness before you contribute. You're signaling self-trust through nonchalance. Step 2. Speak with precision. Wait for conversational peaks to subside, then enter with a short, definitive comment, never more than 1 sentence. Example. That's one way to see it. But results don't argue. Silence afterward creates intrigue. They'll lean in for your next word. Step 3. Withdraw strategically mid-conversation. When the energy spikes, step back slightly. Sip water. Observe instead of matching tone. You'll notice others begin mirroring your calm. Influence isn't about volume. It's about rhythm control. Failure mode. Overreacting to being interrupted or overlooked. Reversal. Let others finish, then reclaim space with composure. I'll add one more point, then we're done. The calm reclaim turns the interruption into an exposure of their insecurity. Field aphorism. Noise wins attention, silence wins allegiance. 3rd, dating and attraction, the gravity of mystery. Attraction isn't created by words, it's sustained by restraint. The performer rushes to impress. The selector allows discovery to unfold on his timeline. The less you reveal, the deeper their curiosity grows. Step 1. Composure under compliment. When praised, don't deflect or overthink. Just nod slightly. I appreciate that. Hold eye contact. Then change the subject calmly. Mystery begins where validation ends. Step 2. Controlled curiosity. When asked personal questions, answer truthfully but incompletely. Yeah, I've done a bit of that. Different chapter though. No elaboration. Curiosity is born in absence, not abundance. Step 3. The law of asymmetry. You initiate less than you respond. You don't chase connection, you receive it. Texts unanswered for hours train the field to respect your focus. The selector doesn't withhold to manipulate. He withholds to maintain signal clarity. Failure mode. Performing humor, oversharing stories, or explaining your silence. Reversal. Let silence create tension. Tension is energy. Hold it without apology. Field aphorism. The one who fills space loses shape. The one who guards silence becomes gravity. Transferring the code across all contexts, the formula repeats. Pause before responding. State less than expected. Hold silence as signal, not absence. Exit before comfort dilutes command. You'll feel resistance at first. Your nervous system will itch to fill the void. That's conditioning dying. Every withheld reaction reclaims neural territory once occupied by insecurity. Practice this daily. One silent pause at work, one delayed answer in conversation, one withheld opinion online. Power scales quietly. Soon, you'll notice the inversion. The same people who once demanded your noise now lean toward your calm. Their urgency becomes your leverage. Their chatter feeds your silence. The field confirms what theory only hinted. Silence doesn't hide you. It crowns you. And once you wear that crown, the world adjusts its volume to your frequency. Psychological control, emotional steadiness. Without cruelty. Power without steadiness is still servitude. You've learned to control rooms. Now you must control the one inside your chest. Influence collapses the moment emotion leaks from insecurity instead of intention. The performer reacts to protect ego. The gatekeeper redirects to preserve order. The difference is composure, not repression. Calibration. You are not becoming stone. You are becoming structure. Emotion still moves through you. It just no longer decides for you. The world will try to trigger the old script, provoke, accuse, pull you into drama loops where noise feels like proof of passion. But you will stay still, because power is not the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of its expression. Containment begins with internal language. When tension rises, replace "why is this happening to me?" with "what is this trying to teach my composure?" The first centers chaos. The second centers command. Every challenge becomes a weight room for emotional muscle. You don't need to mute feeling. You channel it through measured tone, through breath, through gaze that doesn't flinch. Redirection, not defense. When attacked verbally, never argue from pain. Deflection drains, redirection reclaims. Example: you're being cold. Old self: no, I'm not. I just. New self: I value calm. It keeps things clear. You neither fight nor flee, you realign. The attack dissolves against the wall of clarity. People stop pushing where there's no handle to grip. Every moment of steadiness reprograms others' nervous systems to mirror yours. They can't escalate alone. Their tone drops to match yours. Their volume lowers. Their posture relaxes. You've shifted the frame without declaring control. The highest dominance is quiet regulation. Mechanics of composure. Breath. Slow exhale before any reply. It signals your body that urgency is illusion. Voice. Lower by half a tone when challenged. Calm depth cuts sharper than raised pitch. Eyes. Hold contact, not stare. Blink slow. That rhythm tells their instincts. You're safe, but not soft. Hands. Stillness over fidgeting. Motion bleeds anxiety. Stillness radiates authority. This isn't emotional armor, it's emotional order. You respect others enough not to dump volatility on them. Ethical control preserves dignity on both sides. You steady them by refusing to mirror their chaos. True compassion is calm under pressure. When you practice this, you'll notice something uncanny. Confrontation turns to confession. People open around you because your steadiness feels safe. They reveal truths they hide from louder men. That's ethical influence, the ability to guide emotion without violating it. You are no longer addicted to dominance, you are devoted to equilibrium. No panic when plans shift. No resentment when misunderstood. No triumph in others' defeat. Only one ongoing ritual: return to center. This is the discipline beneath every other law. Without it, silence becomes cruelty. With it, silence becomes medicine. The performer seeks emotional validation. The gatekeeper creates emotional weather. From reactivity to regulation, from defense to direction. And as your composure hardens into instinct, The next evolution begins, not control, but integrity. The guardrails that keep power clean. Objections and guardrails. Power with ethics. Every new strength is first mistaken for sin. As you grow quieter, they'll call you distant. As you grow firmer, they'll call you cruel. But understand this. The weak confuse restraint with rejection because they've only seen power misused. Your task is not to prove kindness through softness. It's to prove ethics through control. Not cold, clear, not manipulative, measured. Power without conscience corrupts. Conscience without power collapses. You must fuse both. Presence that protects even when it commands. Authority that steadies, not humiliates. The first objection: you've changed, you're detached. No, you've refined your access. Closeness without boundaries is chaos disguised as connection. True intimacy requires containment. You're not pulling away, you're holding form. You now value depth over frequency, quality over reach. The ones who respect that rhythm will rise to meet it. The rest will fall away, mistaking silence for absence when it is in fact precision. The second objection: you're manipulating people. No, you're mastering influence ethically. Manipulation hides intent. Leadership reveals it. You're no longer performing to be approved. You're aligning actions with standards. Manipulators seek advantage. You seek alignment. That distinction keeps your power clean. The third objection: you've become heartless. Not heartless. Centered. Feel deeply, but move deliberately. Empathy without boundaries turns into emotional servitude. Real compassion requires a frame strong enough to hold others without being flooded by them. Strength, not cruelty. Warmth, not weakness. Here are your guardrails. Non-negotiable checks to preserve integrity while maintaining command. Never use silence to punish. Use it to clarify. Withholding words to create fear is tyranny. Withholding them to invite truth is mastery. Never feign calm. If anger rises, pause privately before responding. Authentic composure beats rehearsed serenity. Never escalate from ego. Escalation is strategic, not emotional. If it serves dominance alone, abstain. If it protects order, proceed. Always leave others with dignity. Power that diminishes others eventually collapses its wielder. The ruler who humiliates his subjects becomes a slave to their resentment. This is how you keep power from turning predatory. Treat others as reflections of your discipline, not recipients of your control. Influence them, yes, but let them keep their agency. Your calm should guide, not cage. Remember this law of balance. If your power costs others their self-respect, it's weakness wearing armor. The real strength is steadiness that leaves everyone stronger after contact, including you. From this ethical foundation, your rule becomes sustainable. Silence becomes sanctuary, not weapon. People obey not because they fear you, but because they trust your restraint. And with this moral architecture built, you are ready for the final ascension. The sealing of identity into command. Ascension and final command. Swear the selector oath. You've dismantled the noise. You've redrawn your borders. You no longer chase, explain, or plead. You decide. The world still hums with the same chaos, but you now move through it like steel through water. Silent, unbent, leaving a wake of order. This is the moment of sealing, not learning, becoming. From hesitation to command. From motion to gravity. You are no longer the one who seeks entry. You are the threshold itself. Every interaction, every silence, every refusal is now a signature of identity. You don't announce it. You enforce it through stillness that cannot be provoked. Your daily exam is simple. Did you move from choice or from fear? Did you speak to clarify or to convince? Did you allow what diluted you, or did you guard the gate? If you answer cleanly, you remain in command. If not, you recalibrate. Silently, immediately. Your irreversible boundary. From this day, you will not explain your worth to anyone. Explanation is a confession of doubt. Presence is proof. You will let misunderstanding pass without correction. You will let silence speak your alignment. Your ritualized public step. Withdraw once, from one place, one group, one conversation that still feeds the performer. No announcement, no closure, just absence that recalibrates the room. Let the void mark your transition. Now swear the selector oath. I move by decision, not demand. I grant access, not seek it. I am unmoved by noise, unshaken by delay, untouched by need. My silence is not retreat, it is reign. From this moment, your power is no longer performed, it is lived. You are the still point others orbit, the unseen axis of command. The performer dies here, the selector rises. Final line. Speak less, decide more. The world now moves when you do.